Greetings again.
Hello, YouTube.
It's Gabe and Paul.
Back for episode 2 of the Murakami Minisodes.
Yeah, so we're from the Spine Crackers podcast, which is a podcast where we do deep dive or at least very long discussions
At least very
of
long.
at least long, sometimes not
Yeah.
not that deep.
Yeah.
Um Literary discussions about books and stuff, and we're doing a series on Haruki Murakami's short stories, starting with this collection, Men Without Women.
And then the next one we're going to do is this one, which you can't see.
But you can see Haruki Murakami's lovely toned body
Yeah,
in
he's
the
really getting in
background
there this
as a
time.
runner. Yeah, he's there. He's showing
He's a
off.
lot he's a lot less shy this episode.
And the reason we're going through his short stories is well, Paul's been a fan for a while. You're a dedicated reader, and we've you can watch our discussion in the first video about this a little more in depth. But we're going to be reading on the main show, Killing Commendatore, in a few weeks, and just wanted to get a little more Murakami under my belt specifically before we did that.
Yeah. I think it's good for me too. I mean, he's my favorite author, but I still haven't read that many books of his, so it's kind of the same thing for me as well.
And
Get
it's
more
just,
exposure.
exactly, and it's just more shit to read. Cool story, cool short stories to read.
So we just love reading books.
Yeah, we just like reading. We're just like, you know what I mean? Just like books.
Yeah, it's like
It's
pretty
like
cool.
it's like we're like smart or something.
Yeah. Although I will say that I feel like the more books we've been reading, the dumber and dumber I feel, which is not what I expected to happen.
Well, I think that's maybe a conversation for another day.
Yeah, we'll come back to that.
It all clicks together eventually. Listen, we got to make this fast because I got to go rob a bank. Clearly,
You definitely do.
but so we have already talked about the first story in this collection in our last episode, Minisode, Drive My Car, and today we're talking about, ironically, yesterday.
Yeah. Yesterday.
So
yeah.
What's this? What was this about?
Yesterday, it was about two characters, two young 20-something college age kids. And one was Akiyoshi, he's the main character, where the story it's from his point of view, and he meets someone named Kitaru. They basically meet at a coffee shop and kind of hit it off. Kitaru ends up being kind of an eccentric.
Wait, isn't
type.
the main? Is that the main character's last name? Isn't I had him down as Tanimura.
Oh, you're right. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, Kitaru's first name
Last
is Akiyoshi.
Yeah. Tanimura and Kitaru.
Yeah, so Tanimura is the main character,
and Erika is the third character.
Yes, so there's basically just those three main characters in this short story. But basically, they hit it off. Kitaru ends up being a pretty eccentric type kid, not going to his classes, not really into the college scene. He's not really that ambitious.
He's already failed the college entrance exams like twice or something, right?
Yeah, so he's in some sort of special program to like get back into the program.
Yeah,
and he's been in there for like 2 years, and he's just kind of floundering and
classic Murakami character, just no direction, not really.
Yeah, definitely
interested or committed in anything.
But the real turning point of the story is Kitaru asking Tanimura to basically go on a date with his girlfriend.
who's sort of not his girlfriend. So this is Erika, right? Yeah. And she's sort of his girlfriend, but sort of not, because they're like kind of taking a break because he's like, I don't want to date anybody until I like get my life together, basically.
Yeah. But then, she's kind of upset about that, but goes along with it. So yeah, that was a funny meeting they had where she didn't know what was coming in this coffee shop meeting they had. And Kitaru just basically asked her, like, if you're gonna date someone else, why don't you date my friend here? He's nice.
Yeah,
he's a nice guy.
So it's both. It seems like it's mainly a like, not mainly, but partially like a sort of safeguard to make sure that she dates someone nice, rather than like if she's going to be seeing other guys, he wants it to be someone who he likes, which obviously is a little problematic, I guess, trying to
There's
control
something.
who she sees, you know.
Yeah, it's
But
like weird.
but it's not written in like a control freak controlling way, you know. He seems very distant from it and very just like, oh, it makes sense, you guys are both nice, she's cute, like you guys should date.
Yeah, he definitely has his own unique set of principles and morals.
Yes.
Um, I mean, he was one of my favorite Murakami characters I've come in contact with. I thought he was hilarious. Um, and I guess we should talk about why the title is Yesterday.
Yeah.
Basically, Kataru is prone to making up silly lyrics for the song Yesterday by the Beatles, and Tanimura just thinks it's like weird, and he kind of gets like mad at him for it, and Kataru's just like, I don't care, no one's listening, it's not copyrighted, I don't care, it's funny, who cares?
It's a weird scene because they go to, and like this all takes place, the bulk of the story takes place over the course of like a few weeks, and then there's a flash forward at the end to like 15 or 16 years later.
Yeah.
And we can talk about that in a second, but it's a weird scene because Tanimura and Kitaru, who, yeah, they're co-workers at a coffee shop, they go to, and there's a lot of interesting stuff about, there's a lot of like class dynamics because they're both like from richer areas in and around Tokyo, I guess, but are not from the rich parts of those areas, even though they're both
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So they go to Kitaru's house, and he just goes and takes a bath for like an hour.
Yeah.
And Tanimura just sitting outside, like talking to him through the door. It's a really weird scene. And he's just
Yeah.
singing these made up lyrics to Yesterday.
Yeah, they
So
form, I mean, a lot like the first story of this short story collection. There's a budding bromance that forms between these two. And
yes, this was a very strong, I'm starting to see a theme here, a trend in these two stories, which is basically fucking dudes rock.
Dudes
These are
rock.
these stories are not so much about men without women, but men with men, or men
Yep.
and men.
Yeah. Platonic budding friendships
Mhm.
that have short stints.
Big time, yeah, very very bromantic.
Um, but yeah, the class dynamics and the discussions about Kataru's choice to take on a different dialect than his original dialect was really strange.
One of the weirdest things I've read in a while.
Very weird. I mean, I don't know if we can kind of translate that for what that would be like as an American. It'd be like, I mean, from what I understand, it'd be like if I wanted to just speak like I was from Boston.
Yeah.
And I like basically dedicated myself to
Or
changing
like,
my accent.
right. Or like deep Alabama or something, like a very, like if you as like a location redacted person, not Alabama though, if you just decided to like study a deep Southern dialect, like as if it was a foreign language, that's basically
Yeah.
what Kitaru does. And he speaks in this dialect all the time. And it's like, apparently it's very strange. Like, obviously I don't know what these dialects sound like that he's talking about because I'm not Japanese, but
Yeah.
that was the closest thing I could think of to an analogy for America.
And he ends up like even using that dialect as he dreams. He explains like he is just totally transformed his way of speaking.
It's a weird, like, uh yeah, it reminded me of like a very very short, like just that scene or that discussion, like a very short like Borges story almost, where someone takes like I don't know if you've ever read Borges, Paul, but he takes these like kind of simple but absurd, not absurd concepts, and just extends them to the extreme. Like there's a story where about a guy who tries to rewrite Don Quixote, like not from memory, but just like organically write it like word for word, like over again, basically like by accident. It's just stuff like that.
That
And
sounds
this
interesting.
kind of struck me as like almost like a hint of that weird realism that
Mhm.
Murakami does. Not magical, but definitely weird.
Yeah, behaviorally strange,
Yes.
but not so strange that it's like unrelatable either. Like that his characterization is just really spot on
Right.
and
He's just a dude
realistic.
who he just decided to do it and did it.
Yeah, but yeah, I really liked him. I thought he was a very interesting guy,
Yeah,
very funny too. This one was funny. I thought that the dialogue between the two in the beginning of the story was just pretty hilarious.
mm-hmm.
It's a little more lighthearted than the first story.
Yeah, I think it's a little more lighthearted in the sense that like there's no like death, which the
Yeah,
first one was about someone losing someone to death. But this one, I mean, it is very melancholy in a way, kind of at the end or towards the end. Like it's about because I guess we should just say like so it flashes forward at the end of the story, 15 years in the future, and Tanimura and Erica, who was Kataru's girlfriend, meet up down the line just by chance at a wine tasting,
mm-hmm.
which significantly like the like date that they went on when Kitaru told them to go on a date together. They went to an Italian restaurant and specifically were drinking Chianti, and so they're sort of back drinking wine together 16 years later, and they meet up and they just kind of talk about whatever. And basically, he asks her about Kitaru, and he basically just he never went to college, never took the exam again, and he just ghosted. And he's like a sushi chef in Denver now,
Yeah,
and like that's it. I guess he was in
that's it.
Seattle first, and then he's in Denver.
And apparently he sends postcards to Erica every once in a while, and
Yeah,
he like doesn't send a return address. He's just still like very eccentric and strange, but still thinks of Erica, but is described as being single still at the age of 35, 36. Kind of that I took that as like he has never dated any woman ever since
yeah.
Erica.
He
But yeah,
he
but
has
before sorry, but before the time jump, it's explained that Kitaru ghosts Tanemura,
right.
uh, and he's pretty distraught about it and realizes that he was like his only friend, and after that kind of keeps to himself and always kind of wonders about him, and he doesn't get any news until the time jump about where he's been or anything. So
Yes, yeah, that's important. That Kitaru also ghosts Tanimura, and it causes a sort of like a little mini existential crisis for Tanimura about like, oh
yeah.
crap, I don't have any friends, and what am I doing? Again,
So
like fulfilling that Murakami character trope role, just like the sort of driftless or drifting kind of listless young male character.
and he had one course of action he could have taken, and he had Erica's phone number still, and he chose just not to get involved. And that's also a very strong Murakami trope too, of just like inaction.
Right.
Like I'm just not going to take action.
Yeah.
Um, he's just like powerless to take any action at all. Just like whatever's happened to be, I'm just going to accept it and be a sad boy
Very sad boy. But
until entropy happens at some point, and maybe I'll figure out some more information about whatever happened to me.
right, and maybe I'll run into this girl 16 years later, and
Yeah,
that'll be my like closure.
yeah,
But yeah, Kataru at the end, he does give off some big MGTOW vibes, some big some big like vol
yeah,
cell vibes, voluntary celibacy. He basically is just like not not only do girls not rock, dudes don't even rock. I just rock.
yeah. Only me.
I'm just gonna go do me.
Yeah, strong, confident young man.
I guess. Yeah,
I
that's
guess
one way
too.
to
I
put
don't
it.
know.
Or like he's never presented as like like it would be easy to think of him as like, oh, he's like running from something, or he can't handle intimacy, or like whatever for some reason. But like there's no hint of that really in the story. We don't know really anything about his family, right?
Nope.
They're semi well off, they live in a rich area, but they're not like crazy rich, and that's like it. He doesn't get a lot of like background or anything.
Yeah. Um, and by the end of the time jump, I kind of got the feeling that Tanimura was really interested in Erica too. Like he describes her as being beautiful and just like loving her smile, and he recounts like very specific details about their date 16 years earlier.
Hmm.
And he kind of has this like self-confidence issue that he didn't even like get into his head that he could have pursued her ever, because he was like, you're too beautiful for me. But I
I
got
think
the
that's what
feeling
he
that he,
literally says, right?
yeah, yeah. And yeah, I definitely got the feeling that he just kind of regretted it, even though the idea never popped into his head to even pursue her. He just like he did love her.
Yeah. And
So that's where the melancholy nature comes in a bit.
yeah, and just sort of lost opportunities and lost kind of just people kind of falling out of touch, and the kind of like inherent sadness of that. And like, I don't know, I think that's something everybody experiences, right? Like just the kind of like, oh man, damn, I really like that guy, I wonder what he's up to. Like we were good friends for like a month and then we didn't stop talking,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep. And it's open ended, and maybe you'll never get to meet that person again, but
Yeah.
that's realistic to life.
And he is married in the flash forward,
Yeah.
right? But no kids, and
Hmm.
Erica is not married.
Yep.
But yeah, they definitely had some kind of connection. But like even the connection that they had, it seemed like it was a lot of it was also was sort of catalyzed by Kitaru. It kind of
Hmm.
reminded me in a way, and
Norwegian
I
Wood. Yeah.
yeah, it
Yeah.
reminded me it was an echo for me of Norwegian Wood, which is a similar kind of plot. Like a couple people are kind of brought together. In that case, the guy, spoiler alerts for Norwegian Wood if you haven't read it, but in that story, it's kind of kicked off by a character's suicide, and that brings together one of his best friends and the girl he was dating at the time that he killed himself, and they
Mm.
develop a relationship. And that definitely, there's echoes of that in this story for sure.
Yeah, I was thinking of Norwegian Wood too, and that's not too much of a spoiler because it happens pretty early on.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but I don't know about you, but I thought this story was like another riff of the first story. Like I thought the characters could you could like equate each character to the characters in the last story. Like I thought Kataru was kind of the main character, like kind of like the main character of the first story. I thought Kataru was kind of he had this idea in his head to set up this date with
Yeah.
his part-time whatever girlfriend in the same way that the character from the first story did too, to kind of get information out of somebody else. Like I
Right.
thought, and then he ends up ghosting just like the character in the first story. And,
That's true.
yeah, and Erica is kind of a similar female character of just like, described as being beautiful and um
Oh, you mean you mean as like the wife from the first one?
yeah.
Because the driver is not described that way.
No, that's the outlier,
Yeah, yeah,
different.
yeah.
But yeah, I just thought the two stories were
Yeah, I definitely
had a
think
lot of
that
parallels.
and I wonder again, like it's going to be interesting to go through the rest of the stories in these book, because it seems like what we're getting, like, variations on a theme here for Murakami, right? Obviously, that's kind of like the theme of the book, but like also even just in the interactions of the characters, there's echoes back and forth of like what's been done in the other stories and to some of his other work, it seems like already.
Yeah.
So he's definitely kind of like doing some jazz kind of riffing and improvisation on various themes and character types and stuff, it seems like already.
Yeah, they seem like, almost like they could be exercises for him or sketches
Mm-hmm.
to just, get certain ideas out. I don't know. Yeah, after reading the second one, I wrote down in my notes that it just felt like an artist, like a painter or a musician who's just riffing. Yeah, ooh. Yeah.
Sketches.
Sketches painting.
Spoilers.
Spoilers.
Spoilers, there's paintings in this book.
Yes. Big spoiler. Wow.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, um I thought there were a few like really beautiful moments in this book too, in this story, I should say, just of writing. I'm thinking of the moment when Erica is describing her dream to Tanimura in the over dinner.
Can you read it? I actually
Yeah,
forgot.
yeah. So they're sort of just she's kind of explaining that she feels like she has this connection with Kitaru, but there's also this like reason for her to feel like it's not going to work,
Oh
and
yeah,
it's kind
yeah,
of like this back and forth. And so she says, uh, Erika Kuratani stared silently at the candle flame flickering in the breeze from the AC. I often have the same dreams, she said. Aki-kun and I are on the same ship, a long journey on a large ship. We're together in a small cabin. It's late at night, and through the porthole, we see the full moon. But that moon is made of pure, transparent ice, and the bottom half of it is sunk in the sea. That looks like a moon, Aki-kun tells me, but it's really made of ice and is only about 8 inches thick. So when the sun comes out in the morning, it all melts. Best to get a good look at it now while you have the chance. I've had this dream so many times. It's a beautiful dream. Always the same moon, always 8 inches thick. The bottom half is sunk down in the sea. I'm leaning against Aki-kun and the moon shines beautifully. It's just the two of us and the waves lapping gently outside. But every time I wake up, I feel unbearably sad. That moon made of ice is nowhere to be found. Sad.
sad, but also this isn't exactly magical realism, but dream talk is a Murakami thing, and I think he has a really great ability to talk about dreams. And like the detail of it, of the moon being 8 inches thick, is just an odd thing that you would grasp onto if you had
Yes.
it in your own dream, just like a weird detail. Like, how would you even know that
Right. If you're
physically,
staring at it outside of on a
yeah.
ship.
But you just, in the dream world, something tells you or something like, oh, that's 8 inches.
Yeah, definitely. And
Yeah.
and the dream is one of the main, is like the thing that Tanimura remembers when he sees her at the end 16 years later, and she's kind of shocked that he remembers the dream, and it's
Yeah.
clearly has still affected her.
Yeah, and it still affected him too, and I think it also displays, like, to just remember little details about somebody 16 years later when you've hung out with them twice, just points to the fact that he has some longing for this person. But he yeah, it's also, I think, a theme for Murakami, just to not even admit, like, for a character to not even admit that to himself.
Right.
Like, he wouldn't, if I feel like if you were to ask him how he felt about her, he wouldn't actually be able to say what his real feelings were.
Yeah. Well, because their
Like,
first meeting was under such weird circumstances. Like, he's like,
yeah.
like, what? You want me to just go on a date with your girlfriend?
Yeah.
And then he like, and then Kitaru like debriefs him. Like, did you guys make out? Where'd you go? How much was the bill? What did you eat?
Yeah.
It's very
strange.
strange. He's a very strange dude.
Yeah, very, very strange.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then he just books it to Denver, and that's it.
Yeah, ghosts.
So yeah, it's about, I guess it's just about loss of relationships and memory and sort of opportunity. But
very, very similar themes to the first one.
Yep. Yep. Again, yeah, a lot of riffing on themes and characters and stuff.
Yeah. Overall, I thought it was very good. Again, very solid.
Yeah, I like this one.
I ended up, I don't know how I didn't, but I just didn't underline any passages. I got to make sure to do that next time. But I did really like this one. I thought that just the dialogue between the two main dudes in the first half of the book was just really, really funny.
Oh, it is really funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he talks about one of the reasons he wanted to learn the dialect is because he was like out of place when he went to see his favorite baseball team, because everyone there like speaks a certain dialect, and like he like basically couldn't talk when he was at the games, or otherwise people would make fun of him. And I thought that was really funny, because that is exactly like if I was like like had a hard New York Brooklyn accent and tried to go to a Red Sox, it was like a Red Sox fan.
Yeah, you just wouldn't get the respect.
I would be tempted to try to learn the Boston. Well, I can't do it. But
you got a 4-door 4x4 with 4 doors. That's all I can say.
Hashtag Bill Burr.
Yeah.
Hashtag controversy.
Yeah, if Bill Burr wanted to, like, if he loved Alabama football and he went to games, he ain't getting no respect.
Exactly. That's right. I one time accidentally wore the wrong colors to a Georgia football game. We went to see the Georgia Bulldogs play Auburn, and Auburn is orange and blue, I think. and I accidentally had some shit on that was orange and blue, like just by accident. I'm not like an Auburn fan, and I was just like, dude, I'm an idiot. And I was like, I'm about to get my ass beat going in.
Did you get looks?
No, I got a couple looks, but it was fine. Someone mentioned it. I was like, I swear it was an accident. Don't kill me.
That's really funny.
So yeah, I mean the only other thing about this story that I'd say is that, again, part of my wanting to do this was because my first Murakami book was Norwegian Wood, and that didn't have the like trademark kind of magical realist, weird, dreamy, whatever feel. So far, neither of these stories has either. And so I'm kind of like, I'm jonesing a little bit.
Well, that's why, I mean, there's no rules here. We could
No, I know.
We could jump to the Elephant Vanishes because I'm pretty sure those are a little bit more surreal.
I kind of want to see this through because I kind of like we'll see. We can talk about
I just hope if we're doing one story a week, are we going to finish by the time we get to Killing Commendatory?
No.
Maybe this is, or not. Yeah.
Probably not.
Maybe we should discuss this off cam.
We're about to fight YouTube.
We're going to fight.
What would you give this story, Paul? I forget what we gave the last one.
I think I gave the last one 3.5, and I think I'm going to give this one a 3.4.
That sounds pretty good. I can't decide which one I like better so far. I think they're pretty close. I may have to demote this one just because I think the Beatles are cringe.
There was very little Beatles talk, though. Overall.
Very little.
Yeah.
Only at the end, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I think 3.4, 3.5. Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Cool.
I think probably next time, the next story up is called An Independent Organ. I believe that's going to be Patreon only.
Oh my god.
So if you YouTube out there, YouTubers like this, first of all, do all the YouTube things. If you want us to read more Murakami, say that fast. Say it 5 times fast.
More Murakami.
You can't do it. It's possible.
It's possible.
No, it's not possible.
Not possible.
Do all the YouTube stuff. Like, subscribe, comment, say great interpretation, dumb interpretation. Here's all the shit you missed because you're stupid, or you did a good job.
I mean, if you're in a rush and you can't write a whole sentence, just write, dumb
or good,
or bad or more. It can be really quick.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to spend a time writing a whole, like, an essay for a YouTube comment.
No, not even a whole sentence. Just
dumb, good, more, less.
Book.
Yeah, and if you really, really like it, go to the Patreon, which is patreon.com/spinecrackers, where we have other kind of sorts of media, other reviews of various things. And like I said, I think the next episode in this series of Minisodes will probably be there only. So you're going to miss out if you want to hear us talk about An Independent Organ.
Mm-hmm. One thing before we go, we didn't do this for the last story, but real quick, I just have to say that Kataru was definitely a Gryffindor.
I knew you were gonna bring this
you
up
knew
this time,
you knew
dude.
it. I just feel like we have to. He was a Gryffindor. He's one of my favorite Murakami characters. I had to put him in a house.
Yeah, and if you listen to our podcast's full episodes, Spinecrackers, you will get that joke and why Paul did that. But yeah,
for the
record,
the most fun I have on the podcast is putting people in houses.
For the record, I think I agree. I think he probably is a Gryffindor. Although he's a little, I don't know. Depends on how you view him, why he leaves. If you view it as just like, I'm just gonna do me, maybe it's Gryffindor. But that could also just be Slytherin, right? Because it's all about him.
Could be Slytherin. Yeah, you're right.
He's just doing it for himself.
Oh, you're right.
And he doesn't care about how it hurts other people, because it really hurts Erica when he leaves, and it hurts Tanemura when he leaves. But he doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a dude doing his own dude thing.
Yeah,
you're
right.
I think we disagree. Slytherin.
I think no, you might. I mean, I'm gonna have to stew on this one for a few hours, but I think he could be Slytherin. You're right. I was so confident in my Gryffindor choice, but I'm once again didn't think something through all the way.
Oh God. I knew you were going to bring it up though. This time.
I just knew it. Yeah,
I can just feel it. I can feel it. Well, anything else?
No.
All right,
No.
everybody. Thanks for watching. Go check out our podcast, Spine Crackers. Bye, Murakami.
Bye, America. I'm a good boy.